Sejam bem-vindos aqui no meu canal The Fountain of Wisdom. Vou fazer este vídeo em inglês porque quero que o pessoal, a audiência da África Austral em particular, esteja a par e passos do que está a acontecer no nosso país, Moçambique. My channel is called The Fountain of Wisdom. I made this channel for a different purpose. But it turns out that at the same time, Mozambique is going through a very serious situation, post-electoral situation. I have never seen the Mozambican people this pissed off. I have to say they are very pissed off with our institutions, namely the institutions responsible for administering, the electoral process. What makes me make this video has to do with the way they have expressed their disgust, their disappointment, their indignation because of what our government, the institutions, most of which are influenced heavily by the government, did to the Mozambican people. There has been an electoral fraud. There is no question about that. Even children know it. There were videos that circulated showing that Zimbabweans voted to help the political party in power in Mozambique, which is Frelimo. It's unbelievable what has been going on, because I don't think Frelimo anticipated what is currently going on. I'm sure they believed that things would just, go as usual, as it happened in the past editions of elections, presidential elections, legislative elections, and so forth. But this time, we're in an era of information where people are able to communicate, even being distant. So distance today is no longer a problem with the kind of communications that we have. For example, I'm able to speak to you, with you, right here sitting on my living room where I am, and you can listen to me where you are, sitting right there. This is magic of communication, and Mozambicans are doing this. They're communicating, they're exchanging, they're getting wiser, they're intelligent, they're wise. So, when the campaign started, of course, the propaganda started. Each candidate went his way to say, well, I'm going to do this and that. I'm going to do this and that, Y and Z, X, for you guys if you vote me. But the Mozambican people had already made their minds, because there was a candidate who fascinated them the most, a guy, Venâncio Mondlane, who incarnates the people, a guy who way before the elections began, way before he became a candidate, he was already with the population. I remember myself, during floods in Mozambique, in Maputo in particular, Venâncio Mondlane was a guy who would go to the terrain, to the field, to see what the people were going through, to see the devastation of floods. He was there with his cameraman filming, and he was actually getting into the inundated zones. He was there, walking, wading in those waters, talking to people, feeling their pain, sharing with them what was going on. He was doing this. It was his thing. The guy won the hearts of Mozambicans, and I'm sure he won the hearts and sympathy of some Frelimo members who I do believe they voted for him on the 9th of October this year. So I have talked a lot so far. What I'm here to share is I have been following what has been going on back home, and I've seen how the Mozambicans have expressed their frustration, their indignation, and so forth. But the most shocking, in my opinion, but massive statement that they have made, they made what they call the 70% square. I repeat, the 70% square. This name of this square has to do with the fact that the Electoral Commission in Mozambique had declared Frelimo with 70% of the votes, and the people didn't agree with that. It's an insult. It does not reflect what they deposited in the ballots. It does not. So what they decided to do, they decided to kill each member of the government. When I say kill, not literally, I mean kill in quotation marks, because they didn't actually kill them. However, they made a massive statement, which I'm going to describe right now. In this square, the 70% of the 70%, or the 70% square, they buried the following people, and I'm going to name them one by one. You can check them out on Google if you wish. There are people who exist, but they do have graves already there in this square that I'm talking about. Veronica Makamo, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, has been buried in this square. Domba Tsenye, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, a bishop in the church. Can you imagine that? A bishop has also been buried there because his lies discredit him as a pastor, as a bishop, as a religious leader. Armando Guebuza, the former president, also has been buried in this square. João Kishisano, also the former president, has been buried in it. The actual president, the president in exercise in duty right now, Filipe Nyusi, has also been buried here. And there is a reserved space, or there was a reserved space, for the president or the chairperson of the Constitutional Commission in Mozambique. I believe her grave will be processed, if I can so say now. There was a reserved space for that person. The other person who is also buried there is the Chief of Police, Bernardino Rafael, because he has not acted as someone who is there to actually protect the country. He is a politician. Let's not make a mistake on that one. And then we have, of course, Daniel Chapo, the only innocent victim who has been buried in that cemetery, in that square. And those who created that cemetery, who are making that massive statement, they say, Chapo, you better get out. You better get out. This is a trap. Frelimo is using you. You shouldn't be doing this. We don't want you. We didn't vote you. My question now is, if the population has gone as far as making a square where they bury the so-called important people of the country, what are those people thinking? What are the government, high-ranking officials thinking about what the Mozambican people are saying? This is a statement never seen before in Mozambique. And if they went that far, it shows how pissed off, how disappointed they are with the government that has been ruling them for about 50 years. So Southern Africa, stop remaining quiet. Say something, do something to help Mozambique, to assist the people of Mozambique who deserve better than what is happening to them right now. Mind you, Mozambique is a very important country located geographically in a very strategic place. South Africa depends on Mozambique. Both countries depend on each other. So if Mozambique is not stable because a government wants to impose itself upon the people, South Africa will suffer if it hasn't started suffering already. We have our neighbor Zimbabwe, who have been partners with Mozambique for years and years and years, and that partnership may be affected because products that come through the sea to enter Zimbabwe may not find their way to Zimbabwe because Mozambique will be completely blocked. And then we have our neighbors Malawi, Zambia, Tanzania as well. So, you, African countries, SADC countries in particular, you need to pronounce yourselves. You need to tell Mozambicans where you stand. Please, tell us where your line in the sand is. May God bless the people of Mozambique.